Good afternoon there, people of the internet. My name is Owen and welcome to this brand new video here on Blurb. It's an update video today actually on the Mark 6 Astra, the second Mark 6 Astra we've had on this channel, and that is Sarah's Astra. A couple of things have been done to this car since you've last seen it. We've had it for a little while now. I just realised I've left the lights on. Yeah, we've had it for God knows, actually. I think about nearly 6 months we've had this car, nearly. It's been a fantastic little car since we've had it so far. No issues to report of. Apart from, it's not the best on fuel, considering what it is and what the fuel prices are at the moment. However, she seems to enjoy it. It seems to be a very reliable car. It's just clocked 47,000 miles today. I think when we got it, it was on 43 or 42, I can't remember. You'll have to check on the last video I did on it. But this is an active model, this Astra. So today's video is basically going to discuss what we've done to it so far, but also what are the differences between this one and the SRI. Is it worth going for an active as opposed to the SRI model, which is the one that I had, of course. You guys will remember that car was actually not too bad. It didn't look too bad. It was the same engine as this, no different. But is it worth going for an SRI as opposed to one of these? And this was the question that me and Sarah asked each other when we got this car. It still looks very decent. The wheels are turbine wheels. They are quite nice to look at, actually. Obviously the car's dirty today, and keeping red clean is actually more difficult than we thought. But what are the differences? What have we done to this car? Well, I shall show you. First of all, what we've done to this car, first of all, was the lights. We've actually put, you can kind of see it's got blue tint in there. We've got halogen bulbs in there. I put them in my Astra. They make the side lights look like LEDs, and well, they do the job actually, considering they're quite cheap to buy and they're not easy. They're not difficult to change either. What you'd have to do is somehow get your hands in between the corner and this side here, which is quite difficult to do, I shall show. On this Astra, the lights are literally down here in this corner, right where my finger is down there. Actually, there's a cap right there in the middle of your screen. You've got to take that off, and that's where the bulbs are to change for the side lights, as opposed to this side as well, being the same, being that cap right there. You've got to take that off and somehow get your hands in there to try and do it. Not too difficult to do, obviously. In regards to the 1.6 engine, it's doing splendid. It's not terrible on fuel, really. We can't tell what miles to the gallon we're doing on this one in comparison to mine. That is one difference, which I shall explain later. But this engine, being the 1.6 VVT engine, it's doing as well so far. It's not a bad little engine. Obviously, it's not the quickest, but it's a lot better than the 1.4 chain-driven one. At least that's to be said. But this colour of Astra reminds me of the reasonably priced car they had on Top Gear, but it also reminds me of Formula 1 as well, because Fifth Gear actually shown a video of the fact that they use these Astras in this colour red, obviously in some cases, to drive around the Brunton Thorpe Proving Ground, which I have driven when I drove some sports cars down there. To train up Formula 1 drivers or Formula 3 cars, you know, or Formula E. Yeah, they use these Astras because they handle really well, including the Astra Ks as well. But one other thing we've done to the car so far is we've changed the reg. We've put the private plate on. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that on the Insignia just yet. But as you can see, it is the active model, so it's also got some half leather seats, which You'll have to excuse the mess of the car, obviously, guys, as the car's locked. I'll have to go into the other side. But yeah, these seats are quite comfortable. Are they as comfortable as the SRI ones? I'd probably say these are more comfortable, to be honest with you. Take the keys out. Yeah, I'd probably say they're more comfortable. They all suffer from this crack that happens on the side with the bolsters. All of the Astras do this, including mine. I mean, this one being on low mileage, they're all the same. Another difference with this car as opposed to my SRI is obviously the steering wheel. The steering wheels are different. This has just got a basic sort of very thin steering wheel instead of the chunky SRI hand sort of moulded steering wheel. But also the interior plastics on mine were silver. These all come at black as standard, and that's inclusive to the interior one. And ignore the heart, that's covering the hazard switch. Sarah put that on there, that's her choice. One thing this does have as well is it has a USB on this one as well to connect your phone to, and you can control your music via the steering wheel controls, which is nice. Mine did not have that. One thing that's a little bit of a downside is the little tiny display in the middle there. Mine had the full-blown screen where the borders are on this one. So mine would say the miles per gallon, the tyre PSIs, etc. You know, all the trip computers basically. But otherwise, it is a very similar car. I would say if it had the dash that I had on mine, this would probably be better than the SRI that I had, because drivability is pretty good on this car. The handling of this car is very similar to my SRI. We've chucked it around corners plenty of times, and the car just grips. These Astras tend to grip no matter what. It's like the tyres have glue all over them. They just stick to the road. Now we have had to change one tyre because one of the tyres did burst on us. But is there a major difference between this and the SRI? Well, apart from the interior cosmetics, obviously the wheels as well, outside wise it looks exactly the same. There is no difference. Mine didn't have an exhaust out the back. I put that on as an aftermarket. We put wind deflectors on it, that makes it look a little bit sharper. But in relation to the brakes, the suspension, it's all the same. Oh, and it doesn't have fog lights on this one either, so that's one other thing this car doesn't have. But then I hardly ever use the fog lights on mine. The fog lights weren't that brilliant, if I'm totally honest, in terms of looks on the car, so it hasn't really made any difference there. But other than a few options, should we say, this car is exactly the same as the SRI in terms of drivability, that is. There is no difference in the power, there's no difference in the fuel economy, there's no difference in the comfort, apart from it's more comfortable having those seats. And limited editions have those seats too, actually. And the plastics, of course. The plastics, obviously you've got black plastics instead of glossy silver. I think that's about it, really. And obviously the display's a little bit different. And the fact that you've got a USB in there to connect your phone to, which will also alter your music as well, which mine never had, that's for sure. I wish I had that, actually. It was a pain in the arse looking and using that aux port. But no, in relation to the car itself, it is exactly the same. One other slight difference, I suppose, cosmetically wise, which you don't really notice it on a red car, is the rear lights. The rear lights aren't tinted, unlike my Astras. My Astra's rear lights were like a dark tinted colour to suit the car, I suppose, especially with it being in a dark anthracite grey. But on this red, it doesn't really matter. You don't really notice it. In fact, it probably suits the normal lights as opposed to the dark ones on the red ones. But even so, it's only minor things, I suppose. You still have windy windows, as you would do on mine, which, to be fair, I hate the windy windows on these. They seem to go down by themselves, and then when you're washing the car, the water ends up going inside the glass. It's not convenient. And also, these cars suffer from quite a common issue where the water actually fills up in the door from when it's raining or when you're washing it, and the bungs underneath actually clog up, so you have to take them out. We've already had that issue with this one as well. Mine had the same. It would just fill up with water and you'll hear it sloshing around as you're driving. But other than that, it's the same. Now, in relation to the driving of the car, we'll go back to that now. Apart from this window being slow, everything seems to be of order. The only one problem I have mentioned to Sarah is there is a vibration noise, which I think is from these small little mirrors as well, because the mirrors actually have, well, you don't get a mirror on this side, as you can see. There is absolutely nothing there. Mine had. And you also get one small mirror but no lights in that one. But otherwise, you get the same electric windows, you've got air conditioning. The air conditioning in this car is horrendous, and it's not just the fault. That isn't the car's fault, it's Vauxhall's design on that one. Mine was exactly the same. You would drive it with the aircon on and it feels like it zaps so much of the power. And this is 113 brake, this car as well, exactly the same as mine. Handbrake is exactly the same, there's no difference with that. All the controls seem to be exactly the same. You've even got the button for traction control on this one exactly the same. There is no major difference between them. But we're just going to go for a little drive with this car. But again, everything seems very similar. It hasn't got fold-in mirrors. It's got a button there, but nothing happens with it. The same small little mirror that they have, but there's no other differences really, apart from obviously your menu on your dashboard. But otherwise, it's exactly the same. We've got a felt inside the door cards, which prevent any rattling, which my Insignia doesn't have, which is really annoying. I have things in the Insignia's door bins and it's just horrendous. That's another thing too. Sarah has set this car up for it to automatically lock the doors as you're driving off, which I could have set that on mine, but I didn't, because I didn't feel there was a need for it. Let's just drive forwards whilst our van is sorting whatever she is doing. But I do like the drivability of this car. The gearbox and the clutch feels so solid. Power wise, it's exactly the same. Just put your foot down and it goes wherever you want it to go, I suppose. And it corners really well. Now this 1.6 can, dependent on how you drive it, entice you to go quicker. And this is one thing I do miss with an NA car, which fuming does have, except she's an auto, and that's the enticement to rag the shit out of it. With this car being the VVT engine, a lot of people don't know how to drive them. I may have mentioned this in a previous video, but not many people know how to drive them, so they'll drive them initially like Sarah does and think this is slow, it doesn't go anywhere. These engines aren't designed, they're designed to be economical, so you've got to drive them carefully to get the economical part of it out, but they can be quite efficient cars. You've just got to put your foot down a little bit more often to do that. So what I mean by that is the VVT activates at a higher rev, which means you'll get more power at the higher end of the engine. Now, you've got to know when to do it and when not to do it, because these cars do suffer from head gasket issues and overheating, which this generation of Astra, the Mark V, didn't have this. Vauxhall will quite gladly put a temp gauge for this engine on the dashboard, which you never used to get in your well, you used to get it in the Vectras, but not in the Sephiras or the Corsas or the Astras in the generation of 2006 onwards. And in this one we haven't even found that hidden shark yet, which I have found on the Insignia. It's in the couple there. But you just got to know how to drive these cars. They handle brilliantly. I tested my Astra, my SRI Astra, up the well, down the Nantagarth. I tried it down there, and also up the Ponderosa when I was catching a couple of friends a couple of years back, and that car stuck like glue. And we driving to Sarah's, we go down back roads, and this car just handles superbly. The only thing that feels odd to me driving this car is the steering wheel. It's very thin, but you know, you can still drive it reasonably well with it. I do prefer the SRI steering wheel because it contours to your hand and it entices a better handling drive. But this car, it'll do the job. It's an active. It's supposed to be a car that gets you to A to B reliably and give you a little bit of quirky fun at the same time. Would I buy another one personally? I would actually. I do kind of wish I did keep my Astra in a sense. I don't miss its fuel economy, and especially at the moment anyways, the amount of fuel we put in this one, it would be worse in my Astra because of the way I drove it, to have fun driving it and to enjoy driving it for what it was. It wasn't terrible on fuel, but the best I think I had out of it was 44 to the gallon or something or other, if I remember from a video I did with that Astra J. But with this car, none of that really matters. Again, with this car, it is more so just the drivability of it, an A to B type thing, than it is just hammering the thing. Again, I think even Top Gear, they use their 1.6 VVT engines, and as you've seen in that car, I think that was also an active as well, bearing in mind. I think it was the exact same car as this, even though it was an SRI. I'd have to have a look. It might have been an SRI actually. But that car handled like glue, and it went alright for what it was. It was not boastful, it wasn't too quick, but it did the job, and that's what the Astras were designed for. It's a daily commuter. In fact, these cars were so popular to buy, we struggled to get one ourselves. We had about 13 of them on a list on Auto Trader and on Facebook, and every single one of them, bar this one, was sold. So we went to Dickens to go and get this one, and we were pleasantly surprised with it. It was one previous keeper, 42,000 miles I think it was on at the time, and it was immaculate on the inside. Obviously this isn't my car, so I'd have to apologise for the mess it can be in at times. But with this video, guys, it's been a while since we've seen this Astra. It's been a while since we've had an Astra J on the channel as well. So I thought I would show you it again, but also talk about it a bit more and the differences between this one and mine, which really there isn't many. There are some minor things I would add, but in relation to the car itself, it is a fantastic little car, and it was definitely worth the buy. And I like driving it, you know, and I can car share this no problem because I know how to drive these. Sometimes I do get complaints for how I drive this car, because of the fuel prices at the moment. It is absolutely ridiculous. Being the 4th of July today, I'm hoping the fuel prices will go down at some point. Being that there are a few fuel protests on today, whether that's made any difference, I am going to claim. But anyways, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. There will be a video soon up on fuming. Fuming, as I may have mentioned even in the last video, has got some issues, and I will discuss them in the next video. They aren't good, but it has one positive out of it, and I will mention that in that video. So stay tuned until the next video, guys. Hope you like this Astra as well. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe. It really does help me a lot, and it brings me confidence that this channel will do well, and I see every single one of you subscribe, and it does make me feel good about making videos, which I've always loved making videos since I was a kid. So it really does humble me when I see some polite comments as well as subscribers as well. So until next time, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe and take care.